Hi, I'm Dr. Jennifer Steiner, board-certified clinical health psychologist, and I want to talk to you today about the relationship between chronic pain and depression. Chronic pain is extremely common worldwide, but in the United States, it's estimated that it affects somewhere between 1 in 5 and 1 in 4 adults, and about 60% of those adults are over the age of 65. Now, the research consistently shows that having chronic pain increases the risk for depression as well as increasing the risk for suicidality. And some studies even suggest that the prevalence of depression among people who have chronic pain is as high as 68%. Now, those numbers change a little bit depending on the survey, but generally it's agreed upon that it's greater than 50% of people with chronic pain and somewhere around that 68% arena. So it's a huge problem that we really need to be aware of and really need to be paying more attention to. And unfortunately, not a lot of people are paying enough attention to the relationship between depression and pain because we have this long-standing tendency to assume that pain is just a physical experience, when in fact that is just not the case. And I cannot say that enough. So let's break this down a little bit. So pain and living with pain can lead to a lot of changes in lifestyle for a lot of people. It can lead to difficulty getting out of bed in the morning, which could result in not being able to go to work, which in turn could result in not being able to maintain a job, and then financial difficulty. Pain can really get in the way of being able to engage in activities that the person once enjoyed, things that used to give them meaning and purpose and be part of how they thought about themselves. Pain can, result in missed days in school, which can then result in a whole change in trajectory for one's plan in life. And all of those changes, as I've mentioned in times before, can really result in a huge change in how somebody thinks about themselves. And of course, when you've got all of these lifestyle changes going on, that in turn can result in stress. It can change your relationship with others. It's very common to hear people say that they get a little bit snappy or irritable when they're in a lot of pain or when they haven't gotten a lot of sleep, which is a common side effect of living in pain. And so it doesn't take long for the pain to kind of grow fingers and start to impact many, many areas of people's life. And those changes in lifestyle and those changes in what they were able to do and how they think about themselves can really lead to the development of depression. And so I think a lot of people can understand that when pain impacts quality of life, depression could come along. Most people understand that relationship. But what I don't necessarily think everybody understands is that it can actually go the other way as well. So what most people don't understand is that once depression is on board, it can actually exacerbate those symptoms of pain. So there's actual biological processes when we experience depression that can make the pain even worse or make the pain even harder to deal with. Many mental health professionals know this, but I think it's important to say again anyway. Our brains, the human brain, is hardwired so that when we experience any kind of strong or uncomfortable emotion, whether that be depression or anxiety or anger, it causes a chemical reaction in the brain that then causes a bunch of neurochemicals to be released in order to try to deal with that emotion or that stressor. The problem is that when that is done happening chronically, a byproduct of some of those neurochemicals is that it actually enhances pain processing. And that can be a problem. So you've got somebody who's already in pain, who may be experiencing some depression because of the changes that the pain has brought about in their life. And then once that depression kicks in, it makes the pain even worse and even harder to manage. So that is definitely something that we need to be aware of because just being in pain is enough to kind of offset that chemical cascade. Now imagine that you're working with somebody or talking to somebody that's had several bad pain days and they're kind of lying around the house trying to recover, trying to get through the pain flare, and they start to reflect on what they've missed out on during that time in bed. That can lead to depressed mood. And just having that feeling could potentially cause that chemical cascade that results in more pain. and then the person feels even more depressed. And that's how we get in this never-ending vicious cycle of pain and depression. So part of it is through experience, and part of it is through a biological process where they start to feed one another in this very complex bidirectional relationship. And so we really need to be aware of the fact that it's not just that pain leads to depression, but that depression also makes pain worse.
I hope that you found this video interesting. If you're somebody that lives with chronic pain and deals with the impact of pain on your quality of life, I hope you'll consider visiting my website at beyondthebodypsych.com to learn more about chronic pain and things that you can do to minimize its impact on your quality of life. If you're a mental health professional interested in working with people who have chronic pain, again, I hope that you'll visit my website to learn more or check out my continuing education courses at the Center for Mental Health and Aging at mentalhealthandaging.com.